League. It's not something you should underestimate in terms of the players there, which is why they want to try and avoid that absolutely like the play to try and get that top 8 seed. But here we go, map number 1, final series of the day between dramiS and maxter. Kicking things off with dramiS's POV with the rail and LG combo early.
Yep, going to be looking for that bull rush usage in this one. You know, that's the thing that always kind of makes me make comments about scale is that
you love him, really.
Yeah, so we'll see, right? I'm really curious. I like the ultra aggressive way it goes about it, but it could also like lead to some really sort of bad, embarrassing moments. So we'll have to see how this is going to play out. And dramiS right now playing this one so very, very slow. Does finally manage to get himself that rail. He's got everything else. He makes his way to grab that heavy and will do some totem management here, which I definitely like to see. I think that's so important when you're up against a Glean on this map.
Yeah, back in the heyday, dramiS used to favour the bigger style of maps in the map pool. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. Oh, he's going to use the bull rush earlier to try and catch him. Doesn't, but will he be able to do enough damage here anyway? Oh, the LG just way too ruthless. maxter just looked like he was just standing there at that point.
Yeah, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, in 10 seconds, why I have struggles with scale right there. Again, love the aggressive play, but then it's like, oh my gosh, it, you know, backfired in a just amazing way. So maxter's on the board now. I think, though, that's what maxter has to be scared of, right? Imagine if that did connect. Imagine if connected a second time. That would have been dramis's frag. So I get it. It's a viable strategy. That, however, is not as he hits a rocket on the lip as he falls down, and dramiS now putting himself in the negatives.
I know what you mean, though. It's like the idea of the bull rush at certain times, it's like, yeah, should be good. It just doesn't plan out how you want it to in terms of execution straight afterwards. But yeah, maxter off to a flying start here. Good rail using the bull rush again. Does hit him with it and clears him up beautifully with the rocket there. Of course, in that courtyard. But look at this, though. dramiS has got a huge stack to play with still. Can contest anything he likes at this point. So don't forget about the starting stack. maxter here picking up that light. Still got the Kalane in play. Heavy's coming up now, but decided to delay it only by a few seconds, but mainly due to the fact that he can hear the audio cue directly from above anyway with the Mega. So let's see how dramiS is going to go about this. He's got the shotgun ready for when he does use that bull rush to shotgun combo. Decides to go back up, but maxter's already hit 2 3 for 3 rails. Lovely stuff from maxter.
That's exactly the thing. I think you want to avoid lethal. I mean, I understand getting hit with that first shot, but look at the rails and coming out of maxter. These things are nutty at this point. He's shooting about a 70% right now with 10 shots taken and 7 of those hit. But I think coming back up that jump pad was a pretty big mistake there, as maxter continues to show, like, listen, you better put some respect on my rails name, because I'm here to play this one. And maxter finds his 3rd frag lethal as he cleans that one up with the LG.
Yeah, I think dramiS is in the situation where he thought to himself, oh, surely he won't think I'm going back up a 3rd time. Of course, yep, expected it straight away just in case. 20 HP now. But maxter's able to survive for now. And the problem is dramiS hasn't got any armor to his name. Looking for those like some Shaw on the other side. Mega's been up for a considerable amount of time using the bull rush to get him, but doesn't get there in time. But he's available, but maxter does have a rail of his own. Good stuff from him, because of course, one more shot from maxter, or for dramiS rather, and he would have been cleaned up. It would have been 3-1 in favour of maxter here. But I say no, maxter doing a good job just make sure these totems do stay alive, even though earlier on it was a little bit of a shambles, as dramiS just hiding in that LG area. That rocket was very, very close, but in the end, dramiS looking to try and progress forward with that shotgun. Oh, beautiful rail again from maxter. What's the percentage? 64 out of 17 shots, not too shabby.
Yeah, he's still stacking them on and just hitting the bullseyes on these. Really nicely done. And I like his positions that he's playing that's giving him some of these angles. You know, some of them are given up by dramiS, but all right, now here we finally have a rail hit on the other side, and dramiS answers back. He's been looking for that for a while and does finally get himself back on the board after being in the negatives early on. Still 4 frags separating these two, but I really do think that dramiS kind of needed that one. He's going to get a little bit of damage done. Bull rush comes out, completely misses him. What a juke! And maxter mows him down to make it a 5 frag game again.
was literally on the edge as well. And the kill before that, maxter just made the assumption that dramiS was going to drop for the heavy as he hits the rail, but instead just went over the top. But maxter, 10 HP, 5 minutes left. Still got a fair amount of time to work with here. maxter now just biding his time, just holding that top mega. But the problem is, dramiS is going a little bit too late to contest, not like he was in a position to anyway. maxter still hasn't found an LG, which is going to cause him a few issues at that medium range. But he's going to pick it up momentarily anyway. Stacks almost equal. Heavy's up in the next 9 seconds. It's a matter of who's going to go for what. But so far, though, maxter is looking absolutely pristine.
Yeah, he is. He's playing it. I mean, now he's playing in this back area. Like, he's got to be setting up, I'm guessing, for Mega. There, he finally makes the rotation over. Does catch his opponent coming out from down below. And he'll run right back into that basement, looking for another chance to find a shot. All the totems are down right now. This would be a good time to fight as he's got his opponent trapped up in the back. He will pull back as he gets ready, and I think that's a great job, using it to reposition here for heavy.
Oh, as if he's going to burn that as well, and would he be able to survive it? He should be able to, considering. But yeah, dramiS, a little bit too late there. I think he was hoping for something different, and you could see there maxter actually dropped down for the heavy early, just so he could have positional advantage over it, and just decided to leave him in that courtyard. So that was well played from maxter there.
Yeah, I mean, he could have forced that fight, but if he lost it up, you know, on the top level and then went back down, that just wouldn't have been good. It would have lost the fight, given a frag, and then given up a major item rotation, potentially a whole cycle. And there's 2 more frags off to spawn. And, you know, I think maxter's just showcasing a very patient game, right? He's willing to say, I'm going to wait in this position. I'm going to not give you good positions to bull rush me. Sure, a couple have been successful, but totems have kind of, you know, kind of been the clear winner in terms of like who gets the advantage overall. 8-point game lethal, that's a really, really hard mountain to climb at this point in time. And dramiS is going to find a full cycle of both of these items, but it's just, I'm afraid, not going to be enough.
Yeah, it's starting to look really rough as time goes on at the moment, especially with the amount of items he's picking up over the last couple minutes. But overall, maxter has had 17 items to the 11 of dramiS. One of, or a couple of maxter in terms of his weaknesses, but he'd always struggled to keep full item control for a long period of time, but also have problems with his ammo management. But it seems to have corrected that over the last few months and decides to go off the map anyway. His dramiS managed to clean that up, but it's not really going to turn the tide too much. maxter having a bit of a giggle in chat just to let dramiS know. I think he was a little bit carefree there, but it doesn't matter. Like we said, 7 frag lead. He's got 2 minutes to try and find it, but you got to remember, it's going to be very, very tough to call considering the position maxter's in with these items.
Yeah, I you know, if there was like 2 conversion frags off of that ring out there, that would have been pretty good. There we do get a bull rush kill. 6 frags with less than 2 minutes left to go. A little rough, right? I think maxter just did such a great job of controlling and locking down. A chase is absolutely going to take place here. But wow, look at that rail in front of the face and a combo kill to boot. 7 frag game now, and game 1 will most certainly be going to maxter.
Yeah, certainly will, 100%. dramiS is probably hoping that maxter will have an off day, but in terms of aim skill, he never, ever has an off day. It's very, very rare, and this is just going to be another clear example of it. Very warmed up and ready for this matchup.
Yeah.
And now in terms of totems, yeah, it's looking very strong indeed. It's going to be interesting to see how the next couple of maps plan out, because you've got to remember, this was dramiS' map pick. And then with maxter, how he's going to perform on Veil. If he performs like this and make it rail heavy, then dramiS isn't really going to have a good time over these next couple of maps.
I agree. I mean, we're going on to Corrupted Keep. Obviously, things are going to be a little bit different there. dramiS is going to have Ranger, so have a little bit of mobility and offensive power with the orb. Of course, DK has that burst potential. That's the thing I was really excited to kind of see how maxter handles and how he works that into his own playbook. But clearly maxter was prepared for this matchup, right? I think it is, you know, forcing any fight that is not going to be a up close and personal fight. And he's done a phenomenal job. Frankly, I think that it's pretty easy to do on this map if you're, you know, a good player who's playing smart. So Yeah, I'm not really sure what the perfect game looked like here for dramiS. Maybe it was like, well, I hit that first bull rush, and then it was just downhill from there for my opponent. That's not what happened. As we hit the 10 minutes, and it'll be 12-3, and maxter takes that one. And I think, you know, the totems were cleaned up early on, but clearly there was some overstacks and gave a lot of opportunity for maxter to fight when he wanted to fight and take the battles and even give up items at some point. So just was a better played game by maxter.
Yeah, it certainly was indeed. And you saw there 36 or 37 shots fired at around 59%. What can you do against that? This is the issue. Like, the only thing you can do is just to try and get some off angles, or at least try and re-pick up at times, or just not really give him too much frame in terms of actually having that advantage. It was very, very tough. But you see, for dramiS, he had the right idea with the bull rush a couple of times when he was going for the mega, or at the very beginning when he was trying to catch off Max at the T-junction. But again, the idea was there, but just the shame about the execution. But maxter was prepared for it. It was always, you can always see that maxter was at a far enough distance or range so that if he does use the bull rush most of the time, or 3/4 of the time, but he wouldn't really get the full package out of it. He wouldn't be able to get as much as he would like in terms of damage, and so you can obviously circle around them or lay a few times. But yeah, this is just ridiculous stuff. maxter just definitely on form here, and dramiS is to try and heavily step things up if he wants to even have a chance in this second map.
Yeah, that was a maxter highlight reel right there, if I've ever seen one. We did see that early bull rush rocket combo, which was pretty nasty, but those rails for maxter to clean up, and you know, it obviously scale bearer is a big target, a little easier to hit. So things change though as we move over to this second map, Corrupted Keep. This would be, you know, one I'd love to see, just like that third series, go to a decider for the third game. But we got the DK versus the Ranger, right? So what do you think here? I wouldn't say this is a super uncommon matchup. I think there's advantage for both of these characters. But any additional thoughts now that we've seen game one?
We had this same matchup on Awoken previously, and I always said it was more the Ranger due to the fact that he has a lot of get out jail free cards with the Orb on Awoken. But for Corrupted Keep, it's going to be a little bit different. You can cycle both items even they're not heavily segregated with the Orb. But again, the chance of your opponent not contesting one of them is slim to none, depending on how weak they are. That's going to be the issue. But with a Death Knight, with a Flame Strike as well, he has a lot to work with, a lot more to play with compared to what you would normally see on Awoken, for example. The only problem is, though, I don't know how he's going to go about it. I think we can see the Orb more used for damage more than at least getting away, because we know that the recovery process of Corrupted Keep can be very difficult, can be quite long-winded, especially if they've trapped you in a certain corner. But I won't be surprised. The other thing I want to say is the fact that dramiS played a very, very rail-heavy game. You saw with the rockets in the LG that he did like 100 damage with the LG, 300 with the rockets. So that's what kind of worries me a little bit, because we saw there that even though maxter had a very high hit percentage with the rail, with the LG and rockets, it was kind of quite even across the board apart from the rail. So that's what kind of questions how dramiS is going to be approaching this matchup.
Yeah. I could see him being aggressive with Orb, maybe hyper focusing on rockets a little bit. I'm curious to see if maxter uses DK more in just as zoning, right? Because I do think the one thing that DK can do on this map is limit your exits, right? Like, you want to go this way, but there's a big old pool of fire there. Gonna go this way. But this is probably the most interesting of the three maps that I'm kind of excited to watch to happen here. And it looks like we're counting in, so let's get started. Take it away.
Before we go back to Ruins in for a rematch, but never mind, we'll go straight back into Corrupted Keep, starting off with Max's POV. If you'll just join us at the moment, Max is coming up 1-0. So far, Max is just keeping his distance. I think we're going to see a lot more heavy machine gun usage from dramiS compared to maxter, but we'll see as time goes on. Good use of the flame strike, but the Orb comes into play in full effect. And that's what we were talking about previously. More for the damage and less about trying to at least cycle these items. But then again, dramiS still trying to stay alive at 42 HP. But it's got a minute second now, and maxter manages to steal it away.
Oh no, that was super unfortunate, because what a great start. And that's going to let maxter grab both of these major items. And that is just, you know, that's one of those unfortunate things. You know, dramiS looked like he was 1 second too early there. He did have a little battle where he contested. Here we're going to have flames come out yet again. LG in hand, and maxter will get that second frag. So still a 1-frag game, but maxter's picked up 2 in a row, looking for a third one. Orb comes out, nicely done by dramiS, as he does pick up the frag and tie it back up.
That was so good. maxter was in a bit of a pickle there. You saw there he was in a position where he could either block the heavy machine gun spawn or the red ring spawn. He decided to block the heavy machine gun spawn, but as I said, it drops on 7 HP, but maxter manages to get away with that. They were both on 7 and 10 HP respectively. But yeah, talk about what I was saying earlier. Yeah, he decided to force the spawn into red ring because he's got a slight disadvantage in terms of actually being able to push on forward with that choke point of the door frame. Oh, that was just... the stuff he's getting away with right now is just ridiculous. But maxter, of course, doesn't have the stack you would like. He's going to back away. Does have the heavy, and dramiS isn't going to get there in time. But uses the flame strike for that denial process, as you were talking about earlier, And look at this. This is helping beautifully, but dramiS gets away with that.
I love that setup, but that was also a smart move by dramiS, right? Come on through. So I love what maxter is trying to set up there. dramiS is still going to tie this one back up, and we're going to have a huge back and forth as he slow walks it from the red room. maxter's there waiting for him. A little LG finished off with the MG, and that is going to be him in the lead yet again. So, right, I mean, the orb and the fire is working out pretty much exactly how we predicted, but it's just a back and forth. In some situations, the orb has come out on top. In other situations, flames allowed maxter to get the damage done and burst it down. But neither is a clear winner yet so far.
Yeah, we haven't seen much heavy machine gun usage as of yet either compared to what we need some other players. It's just purely LG rockets and just an absolute slugfest. dramiS is going to come out on top on that one. 4 apiece. Max is not going to go for the trade frag, just dramiS is not really weak enough. That's a good shotgun as well. Trying to try and fly on in, but dramiS is 23 HP, and Max is going to catch him before he kicks out the health bubbles as well here, So Max is going to retain the lead, but I don't know how long for here. 7 seconds until the Mega's coming up. And both of them, again, it's just another street fight, just like we saw in the last matchup previously. 3 HP though, he can't go across. Uses the orb to try and get back up top, but still doing a fair amount of damage. How is he still... Finally taken down. Took a while, but we got it in the end. 5 apiece now. It's only just been just over 3 minutes of play.
I mean, a wild back and forth. There's like been so many things that have just been like, wow, it literally could have happened totally different. It branched off, created a completely different timeline, and that game is now being played in a whole nother multiverse, right? Like it was the 2 frags that we saw from maxter to bring back were amazing, and I just can't believe how some of these things are shaking out here. But I love the action that we're seeing so far as we have an orb hitting and sticking to the side. It's not going to do much. dramiS this time, he's the one that's super hurt, and as he goes in, maxter on top of it and just seems to be reading the mind of dramiS here and not letting him take any sort of ground.
And it's something we didn't mention about the Ranger either. Because of his passive ability of not taking much damage with the rockets, he can fly on in to try and catch his opponent without the use of the orb anyway. But the Mega, he just manages to steal it. But of course, when that weapon's in his arsenal or at his disposal, he wasn't able to capitalize on that. maxter does get heavy. He's going to try and get away as fast as physically possible. Nice little rocket there raining down. Another good rocket as well. Oh, still, which was interesting. But I think he was more doing that for damage rather than just obviously just trying to get on top. But maxter, though, got a healthier lead compared to what we've seen previously. Flame Strike does come out as forces dramiS out of a bad situation to maybe in an even worse one now. Goes into that red room, tries to recover. But the problem is that maxter has picked up the Megas on the warpath once again.
Yeah, it's, you know, maxter kind of starting to stack those up a little bit. Shakes off the mouse, you know, he's in like that spot. He knows that 5 minutes, that's still a lot of time. Anything could happen here. This game is far from over. But I do think maxter kind of starting to figure out, okay, how my opponent's going to play, how I'm going to respond. There's been several times where he's caught his opponent there in the red room as his kind of preferred retreat to get the additional health bubbles. It's just these small decisions like that that I think are putting maxter in the lead. But I still expect that dramiS can try to bring something back. Going to be tough, though, as maxter grabs the heavy, now heading on over. Big rockets back and forth traded, and both players are going to stick to it and go for it, and they will trade.
That shouldn't have been a trade. I'm so surprised about that as well. I think maxter was trying to finish him up with a shotgun, but was literally tickling him at that point from that range as well, and could barely see him. But look at the fights coming out from these two. It's just ridiculous. But maxter does come out on top once again. Heavy is up. dramiS decided to go for the mega instead. But it still has quite a lot of time to play with. Remember, that orb can be dangerous, and if he hits at the right moments at the right times, in the correct situation, there's no reason why he can't come back from this.
Yeah, he's got to keep it to 4, no more than 5. Like, that's where I really start to get a little nervous. maxter now on the retreat as 2 rockets hit from dramiS. dramiS using the orb to clean up. I'm glad to see it, but at the same time, there's so many other ways to get rid of that 12 HP. At this point, maybe, though, it's like, go for it. I won't second guess you, dramiS. You play your game. But he does bring it back to 3 at least.
Yeah, I think he may have, we'll talk about it in a second, it's still shut in the red with 7 HP, but he may have done that purposely so he could steal the hourglasses afterwards. I'm not really sure, but that could be another incentive there, because these guys have been going after hourglasses like it's nobody's business so far.
Very true.
As the mega has appeared before his very eyes, both timings almost equal, almost in sync, as dramiS just looking to double check and make sure heavy has been stolen, but of course at this stage, both coming out with the LG here. dramiS have the slightest of advantages there in terms of stack, but decides to back away anyway. But then again, who wants to take an aim duel against maxter? That's going to be the other point to make. But dramiS is just finding his time now. He's the one that's actually changing the pace, but using the rockets, beautiful stuff, and now he can get the heavy straight afterwards.
That was beautiful, perfectly positioned, perfectly shot, exited at the perfect time. He unfortunately gets caught by maxter coming around the corner with that LG. He's on the defense trying to stay alive, will drop down onto some health, but very, very hurt from the top. Oh my God, he still manages to pull it off. 15 points of health remaining. He makes it a 1-point game, but he's got to be careful.
He has to pick up his mega. The health bulb's on good for a little bit of time now, but decides to go in and recover, which is perfectly understandable. This is a great comeback from what's in for dramiS so far. Look at that. maxter just made the assumption that the mega has probably been taken a while ago, considering how desperate dramiS was to try and recover. So now 1.5 minutes left in play. And we did say not to underestimate the orb. But I feel like dramiS is playing a lot more smart as well, just in general. Like, just abusing the skill set which he has, knowing that taking some of his angels against maxter is just basically asking for trouble. And keeping his hourglasses in check as well. Has the orb ready in place. Good direct. He could go up here, which he does, but he doesn't clean them up. As maxter is able to survive at the mega.
Yeah, that's, I mean, dramiS is still going to have 1 more chance here, but it's not going to be easy. He's going to grab those files to give himself hopefully 1 more orb for a potential frag. He's got to be looking for a tied scenario here, as we are going to see him on the retreat. dramiS still chasing down maxter into the red room. These defensive rockets are hitting their mark. Once again, dramiS from the back corner, maxter into the back hallways, and he is just looking to hold on to this lead, but dramiS catches him, and now it's a 1-point game, 40 seconds left to go, holding on to that orb. No, actually, the orb did come out in that last battle, so this is it. dramiS has to try to get it. He might have 1 more shot. maxter with huge LG damage into the back, lethal, and that may be game.
Yeah, I was surprised he took that fight, because maxter only had an LG to play with and just went into his range and could have used that heavy machine gun a little bit more. He had the time, but dramiS is going to play cat and mouse here. He's not going to get a huge amount done. May take him down here, but it's just already way too much damage. Just raining down the rockets. Going to orb on up to try and clean him, which he does, but maxter gets a vital trade. Not really vital, really, in all fairness, considering he had a 2-frag deficit, but yeah, dramiS played well to come back. He was like, what, down 10-6 at one stage.
Yeah.
Used the orb to full effect, but it's just the LG from maxter. Look at that, 40%, and he did 1,800 damage, where dramiS actually favored the rockets a lot more and actually got around 2,000 damage. Unreal.
Yeah, I think when the LG comes out like that too, the other big thing that you have to take into consideration is how many times maxter caught dramiS without any answered damage, right? You know, it's one thing if you're dodging rockets and taking damage and while fighting someone with an LG. How many times, right, did his opponent come around the corner or he snuck on, right? He was looking in completely the opposite direction, and then boom, there's 60 damage from LG. It just is such a huge advantage in that regard. That was a beautiful use of the orb right there. I really liked some of what we saw from dramiS, but I think maxter, again, talking about consistency, maxter continues to kind of show it, right? While building the sort of highest echelon of like what his ceiling is, he does remain fairly consistent through and through, and we saw it there again in game 2. So he is going to take the series, but we're still going to get to see this third map on Awoken, where we're going to have dramiS on Sorlag and of course maxter on Athena.
Yeah, and the Athena, it's very tough. If you get a lead against the Athena and keep her on spawn, then you know the world is your oyster at that point. But with the Sorlag, the heavy versus light matchup, you're thinking about the starting stack from dramiS. If he plays how he's done previously, play very well heavy at the beginning in that first map, then it could be a little bit different in terms of the matchup here. He hasn't favored the LG much. Even in that last map, he only had a few hundred damage, so we couldn't really say 34% was good or bad, because he didn't really use it enough to get a decent enough average percent. But yeah, when you got someone like maxter, 40% LG, with the amount of damage and the amount of use he put into it, yeah, it's a very dangerous game in itself. And that's why I was debating about the play towards the end, where why would you come into range when you've got the heavy machine gun or to rockets? He's used the rockets so much, might as well call him Garpy at this point. It's just being unreal. But I think with Awoken, it should be okay. I do feel like statistically, dramiS has also had a good time, I feel like, on Awoken in terms of his win percentage. But saying that, so has maxter. So it's very difficult to comprehend how it's going to come out trumps. That's why I was saying it's very difficult to say who's going to come out on top 2-1 either of the two players, because they're both very good on 2 of the maps out of 3, and I wasn't too sure how Corrupted Keep was going to go. But now we've witnessed it, and it was a very close affair. It's still going to be undecided, but there's no reason why dramiS can't take this third map if he plays it a little bit more calculated.
I agree. I think it's completely possible here on Awoken. I don't see any reason why that couldn't happen. In fact, that 2-1 still holds as far as I'm concerned. I think game 2 showed that a little bit, right? I mean, it was back and forth. Now, up against the consistency, it just means that there is a higher mountain and tougher mountain for dramiS to climb. But he's had his moments here during this matchup. So we'll see. As it's a new map, a new game, the series is going to go to maxter. That will help him move a little bit further up in those rankings. dramiS, though, still looking for any opportunity to get that practice in, put those results on the board, and continue his run here in season 3. So still excited to see how this one plays out. I hope it's close. I think it will be, Lethal.
I hope so, mate. I hope so, considering what we saw compared to that first match. Second match went too shabby, in all fairness, considering dramiS was coming back. But do you know what? It's going to be a weird style, well, a complete role reversal, actually. The fact that maxter's normally the one who's the aggressor to create the decision tree for his opponent, and then to keep him deciding which way, how, and when he's going to go. And dramiS is the one who's a little bit passive, will do the chip damage before he goes on in. It's going to be completely different, because of course maxter is playing the Athena. He has to do chip against someone as heavy as Sorlag, and of course with his starting stack straight afterwards, he can't just try and kill it on spawn straight afterwards. So, you know, will we see a role reversal? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if maxter does go and comes plays it, which he has done already, but jumps straight on in, and already within 7 seconds, dramiS gets the first frag.
Oh my God, is glorious. The second frag too, with the rail that could have been mistaken as a kiss. Like, I don't know. It was very close. dramiS does take a rail of his own, but maxter, unfortunately, with that the second grapple he did, it hit a lip, and then he tried to course correct, and that was bad news for him. So dramiS up on 2 already, as he's going to try to, well, hold on for this heavy here, but maxter with a huge dose of shotguns finally on the board.
Yeah, he certainly is using that split for defensive purposes. He's going to expect it to come through. Yes, he does. Good, clean shotgun shots coming out from maxter. And how things have changed here, Wait. 1 minute gone, already 2 apiece. Didn't expect that, considering the position maxter is in. He's making the right reads, though. It's just a matter of where dramiS is going to approach from. Sadly, did miss that first rail. It's going to give Obviously, the advantage to pick up that heavy. He's just using that heavy machine gun, just going to pull away and go towards the rail. But I like this from maxter though. Even though he's not getting the shots in, he's making the right reads and is positioning himself correctly. Wow. Going 2 for 2, looking for the third. Doesn't hit it, but is he going to try and... Oh, no, he doesn't. But leaves him anyway for the time being. 90 seconds have passed, still 2 apiece. Mega's come up next couple of seconds, but maxter does have time to go for both if he wants to feel a little bit greedy.
Yep. Set himself up so with some nice angles and most importantly hitting the shots. Unfortunately, that's like his second missed grapple, right? And oh my God, the direct rocket to the rail, and he's gonna give chase here. He's looking for the machine gun to clean it up. He's gonna find him in the back hallway. And there's the shotty again, 3-2. So, right, maxter season opening absolutely went for it. Sure, there's been some unforced errors that have come out, but it hasn't stopped him from capitalizing on his positioning and control as he continues to hold on in this game with the 1 frag lead.
Max has done a great job with his weapon selection as well in every engagement he took. Back away once again, even though he did have top mid control, but Mega's going up in the next 12 seconds and wants to see if dramiS is going to approach that choke point, decides not to. And the problem is, though, dramiS is going to have to make a move for this Mega at some stage. Max is just going to dive on in, he don't care, and he's treating it as though he's not using a light champion at all. But then again, you've got to think to yourself, with the stack, it's not really too much of a surprise here, but at least dramiS gives himself some leeway, does steal away that heavy, waiting for him to go for that Mega cross, but just not going to happen. It's going to try and get around to the LG, realises a little bit too late, but this is that first rail as well, so important to get that chip in place, but at least Max has got a comfortable lead here, does almost take it down, but 52 HP, still got the health bubble, and then Mega's going to be up for the taking here. I'm not too sure if dramiS is going to be in time for the trade. No, he will not.
Yeah, he's going to try to force it anyway, and it's not going to work out well for him at all. I think one thing that's probably pretty key to point out here is that maxter, even as his very subtle movement and control throughout this game, has just kept the rail out of dramiS's hands. And then has said, I will use mine as much as I possibly can. There, we're finally going to see him get his hands on one, but it's really smart for maxter to do that. I think that's what's allowing him to compound his lead a little bit. That's going to be his most dangerous, or the weapon that's most dangerous in the hands of dramiS, considering the champion he's playing. So good job by maxter. I mean, he's definitely dissecting this game as he needs to, and you're seeing it in the score.
Yeah, that's right. Surgically dissecting this down to a T. And look at the item control so far. 12 items for maxter, 13 now, and 4 for dramiS. dramiS hasn't picked up a single Mega, but he has tried to contest it a few times. Riding that struggle bus massively. Does get the heavy down in play, got the health bubble next to him, so it's not going to be too different. He's going to wait for him to go on forward again. Just these reads are just incredible. 2 for 2. Is he going to make it 3? Looks like he will not. Just going to play it safe and try and clean him up with the rockets, but hits another rail. 3rd in a row. And he's just not letting up at all. 60% rail against an Athena out of 25 shots.
It's pretty good.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. I mean, he's nailing them. maxter going to grab that heavy position, getting ready here for the Megas. Got a little bit of time, but it's going to go ahead and just go gung-ho on that. Does take some spit damage. dramiS finally landing a rail of his own. And now here's a crucial point. Unfortunately, he has very little health, but that would have been a great opportunity to convert. Almost everything he grabbed to heal is gone as maxter just pounds the bullets into the skull of dramiS. dramiS hits a great rail, but it won't matter. maxter still gets to steal away that heavy, and he's just playing a great game. Using the grapple, position back up, taking, even those major items. Even if he would have died, that still would have been a good grab and pickup. But 7 frags, he can't completely go into, snooze mode here by any means, but he's just playing a great game.
Yeah, even dramiS gets a couple back-to-back frags here and there. You've got to remember the grapple for maxter. He can just get away at any opportunity just to make dramis's life a misery at this point. 4 minutes left, still getting clawed back by 7 frag deficit. Good rail, don't get me wrong. So he does drop down, goes into the LG area, just daring him to go forward with that rail, misses, and dramiS is on 69 HP, does manage to get away. But he needs to be the one to create these moves, not the other way around. Max is just looking to increase his lead. But you're right, though. He's just not really giving dramiS a chance to even have the opportunity to try and make a comeback in as much. Good use of the grapple as well, just for the agility to keep dramiS guessing. 11-2 now. And yeah, this is pretty much said and done.
Yeah, it's unfortunately getting further away. And obviously, if you've got to chase an Athena, it's not super fun. Especially when you're looking at, 9 frags separating. So Spit really didn't come in that big. Unfortunately, I think maxter ended up retaining so much control that, I think Spit becomes most effective as a zoning tool when you've got some level of control. But when your opponents take it and strip that away from you, what do you have in your kit? And that's I think the trouble that dramiS is kind of dealing with right here. So even though those initial frags came out kind of in his favor, the overall win is going to likely go to maxter as he lands another great rail. Still sitting on 62 with 22 with 35 shots. 22 shots hit of 35 fired. So maxter is surprisingly going to take this in a 3-0. And we said that might surprise us. Lethal, what do you think?
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have said it. It should be at this point. And dramiS, the worst bit is, you were talking about how he uses it as a zoning tool to have that defensive purposes for the early preparation of the items. That's absolutely true as well. And the only time he had that was the first 2 frags of the game. But it just went so fast. It just happened so quickly. It just accelerated to such a high degree that maxter made sure he didn't have the opportunity to create that zoning purposes here. But then again, maxter just increases lead further and further. It's just incredible to watch, isn't it? 62% accuracy against an Athena. You don't normally see it every day, but if someone told me it was maxter who done it, I wouldn't really be too surprised at all. Good LG. Yeah, dramiS is pretty much given up at that point. Only 19 seconds left remaining. Mega's up, and Max has really put on a show. Ever since he got that win against Nosfer a couple of weeks ago, he seems to be hitting closer and closer to his peak performance, ready for QuakeCon.
Yeah, I want to say something about kind of this particular matchup. Maxter stands don't get super mad at me, but like in terms of how great maxter's play on Athena has been, I feel like I've definitely seen better, right? We've seen him miss some grapples, some hooks, positioning's been fine, but we've definitely seen like some holy moly, like to take Athena out of their hands. But at the same time, the flip side of that, Lethal, is that maxter's overall skill set is like S tier this whole match, right? So it's almost not even mattered that he's messed up a couple of grapples here or just, gotten a bad position because of a grapple, whatever. Because he's making all of that awareness in his aim, in his decision making, and that all is so top tier that like it doesn't even matter that he's not playing the best Athena game that he's probably ever played. So a testament to maxter in terms of how he's probably feeling right now overall about his own skills and how he can bring them to the table each week here at QPL. So good job by maxter. It was a great series.
That's all right. I don't think the chat's going to have pitchforks coming after you, I think you'll be all right.
That's okay.
2,500 damage. Look at that. 2,500 more damage. 28 items against the 9. It says it all. 61% against, it's just absolute madness. And to be fair, if you got remember for dramiS, 50% against Athena isn't too shabby at all. So he definitely had his work cut out for him. But yeah, the aggression was just unreal.
Well, let's bring 40 back and see what he says as maxter does manage to pull out a 3-0. There he is. We always know if something is wrong if you're not making that smiling face when we come back. Then we know like, oh my gosh, someone's holding 40 Lions hostage right now.
Something is horribly wrong because I fed Nix and then the auto feeder went off. I don't know if you've ever done that, Wheat, but I feel like an idiot. Anyways, yeah, I mean, quite the performance from maxter. Map number 1, I feel like a lot of the bull rushes, and Wheat, you're going to love this, didn't amount to anything for dramiS. Some of them just whiffed completely. Some of them didn't do the damage he wants, and dramiS is a very all-in aggressive player, and if he's not getting that damage, I think that's kind of what added up to that. Map number 2, I mean, the pivotal point for me was dramiS gets caught out at the armor shard above the boneyard. So much LG, and he jumped into the fire, and maxter was able to just take that at the last second and open up the game to take the lead. And then map number 3 was just kind of brutal. I mean, start to finish was a little rough. As you said, not the top tier Athena play necessarily from maxter, but enough to get the job done. And I think at that point, dramiS was a little dejected from the first 2 maps as well, as we take a look at the recap of Awoken. But hats off to maxter. I mean, he's having 2 great weeks. Again, 2 weeks back, taking down Nosfa, beating the end boss, and now a quick 3-0. Not bad at all. This is the time that you want to start ramping up as we get closer and closer to the finals on LAN.
Yeah, can't agree more, really. Maxter's... I do agree to a certain point, but I feel like, yeah, he's still got a couple more months as well. It's like when Wenger lost to Rafa. The good thing about that is the fact that they've got a couple of months to work on things, so it'll be the same for Maxter's position as well. But yeah, maxter is currently 7th. He's going to maybe creep up a little bit more after that, considering what we saw, because there is a little bit of a tied fest there. Should be 6th, maybe at least keep 7th because of the CNZ situation before. But yeah, the scoreline say it all, really. You know, the first one, I do agree with what I thought you were saying with the bull rush. He had the right ideas, sometimes a little bit too early for my liking, and sadly just missed out. Crop to Keep was a great match. dramiS actually clawed his way from a 10-6 full frag deficit and has almost been able to tie the lead, but sadly maxter was able to use his raw aim skill and be able to play a little bit more calculated than what dramiS is used to take that. And yeah, Awoken, we just won't talk about it. We'll just leave it there. The score speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, definitely rough. But again, as you said, we're at the point where you want to start ramping up and playing better and better to finals, but there's still time for that adjustment. So
yeah.
Not the biggest deal. dramiS has proven that he could take down Titans. It's just a matter of figuring out where, you know, the weak spots are in the game and what he's lacking moving forward as we do get closer to the finals. So unfortunately, I mean, Quake days are the best days, but the saddest part of them is they have to end, and this is where we're going to end for today. That was the last set. I know, heartbreaking. But Wheat, closing thoughts, feelings moving forward?
Yeah, you know, thanks to all the players, everyone that came out to watch some more Quake today. Good stuff. I still got to throw out, you know, go check out that Chain CNZ game 2. It was last 2 minutes are remarkable. So great. I'm loving it. I love that the action is kind of intensifying as we're getting closer to the championship. So, you know, players keep giving it your all, and we'll keep showing up and loving every second of it. So thanks.
Lethal?
I'm not gonna lie to you, that 180 flick from Razy for the TP, it still gives me nightmares. And I can tell before it still gives him nightmares as well, literally. You're gonna be waking up in the cold sweat thinking about it. But yeah, great day nonetheless.
Yeah, fantastic day. I agree. Lots of highlights from today. Do check out all of the games if you haven't. There's the VOD. There's VOD on YouTube, I believe, as well. But more importantly, do not forget June 19th, global qualifiers. If you want to sit in the chat and talk smack, show up and play 4 top spots. Get the trip to Romania, and you get to play on LAN, and then we'll have other chatters talking crap about you. It's great. It's lovely. But that is the end of the day. Big shouts to all the players, everyone in chat. It's always a pleasure, Lethal and Wheat, to be on the broadcast with you. Big shouts to PGL, everyone at id, Bethesda, everything. But that's it. We will see you next week. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves and one another. We'll see you next week.